Hello, everybody. My name is Wahid Ahmad Wafa, and I come from Afghanistan. What comes into your mind when you hear the word Afghanistan? Any thoughts? Let me then tell you a story, a personal story of mine that resonates back to 1994 when I was 5 years old. I lived in a city called Herat in the western part of Afghanistan. I lived with my family. My father worked for the government as a prosecutor. My mother took care of the house. Myself and my siblings, we would go to a local mosque to study. We tried our best every day to lead a normal life. A normal life in the middle of a civil war. But that was who we were, and we were happy of whatever we had. Every Thursday of the week, myself and my siblings, my oldest brother and my sister, we would go to this local mosque and pay a tuition fee to the teacher for his time and effort. However, one Thursday changed our lives forever. My oldest brother would grab my hand and my sister's hand, and then he would walk us toward the mosque. There was a bridge between our house and the mosque, and we had to cross it. We went to the mosque this day, and the teacher said, pay me the money. My brother said, sorry sir, we forgot. As my brother was still holding our hands, he decided to go back home and get the money from my father. So we walked all the way back home. My father was in the hallway, and he said, when he saw us there, he instantly realized why we were back. He paid us the money and said, hop, as fast as you possibly can, go back to the mosque before the teacher starts the lesson. My brother, as he was still holding our hands, he started walking us back toward the mosque. In fact, toward the bridge. A couple of meters before getting onto this bridge, everything started exploding around us. We fell on the ground. Our clothes were torn apart. Our faces were bloody. And we would hear the people yelling, help, help, and help. I was 5 years old at this time. With the energy left in our body, we stood up. We were kids. We didn't know what was happening. It was very chaotic and shocking. We looked across the dusty air, and we noticed that the mosque was gone with 25 students in it, as well as the teacher. We were lucky that we weren't there in this mosque. And the reason that we weren't there was because we, by chance, forgot to get money from our father. My oldest brother, he took our hands, and we started running as fast as we possibly could to our house. On the way, we saw doors shuttered, birds falling from the trees, dead bodies on the ground. We got to our house, there was no door. We walked in, and we walked a bit further. I saw my mother, my father, and my youngest brother, Behnam. And they were sitting on the ground, hugging each other and crying. My mother thought that we were killed as well. But when she saw us standing in the hallway, she just ran as fast as she possibly could toward us. She hugged us so hard and so passionately that broke our hearts. And she was saying, thank God they are alive. My father at the same time, he was picking everything up from the home as every valuable thing he had in his house. And he was saying words like, they are coming and that we have to leave. For my father, it wasn't an easy decision. He worked for the government as a prosecutor. He had a master's degree in law from Kabul University. He was respected for his knowledge and leadership in the community. So he had put his entire life into building something for himself, for his community, for his family. And now, in this particular moment, he was between choosing safety and security for his family, and on the other hand, choosing his career. Which one would he choose? He chose us. He chose his family, and he took us to the neighboring country called Iran. After being on the road for a week, we got to the capital city of Iran called Tehran. For an Afghan, finding a job as a prosecutor, a judge, or a doctor is just impossible. Not because your diploma is not recognized, or because of your lack of knowledge or experience, only because you're not one of them. My father, with his diploma in his pocket, he had to go and work on the streets of Tehran and in construction sites to earn enough money to be able to feed his family. Every day of the week, he would come to the home very late, that he would never sleep unless he taught us something new about life. He taught us geography, history, and mathematics every day. He believed in a better tomorrow. He believed that as long as you're safe, as long as your family is safe, and we have food at our home, and that we live in a house, we were succeeding. For him, that was the definition of success and being happy. He practiced this every single day for 6.5 years. He also never gave us false promises. He never said, hey, my son, the future is going to be perfect. I'm going to do my best and you're going to be amazing and your future is going to be the best that there is and you're going to be prosperous. No, he was very realistic. He was like, this is the situation now we are living in. And these are the things that we can do right now to make a difference in our future. He tried to make us self-aware of ourselves, our surroundings, and the conditions that we were in. Conditions we didn't choose for. In 2001, when the US invaded Afghanistan, for my father it was a liberation moment, a liberation day. He thought everything that we did during these almost 7 years was a good foundation for a better future when we go back. In December 2001, we decided to go back, and we did. We went to our own home city, Herat, a home we abandoned 7 years before it. The only thing we saw when we arrived into the city were destructions and ruins. The mosque was still in ruins. Our house was still in ruins. But it felt very different. It felt very optimistic. It felt very positive. My parents started rebuilding the house. Myself and my siblings, we started going this time to a real school. And it was an amazing opportunity for us to think further for our future. But one thing was very, very difficult to change, and it was the people, the local community. It seemed to us that they had forgotten their past. It seemed that they had forgotten the fact that the Taliban are gone. They just have to feel released now, but they can't. And it made the society very, very vulnerable. In fact, very vulnerable in front of the extremist groups, extremist ideologists. When I grew a bit older in 2005, I felt very depressed in the society. I didn't know what to do or what to choose for my future. I went to a school near our house, and in this school they had a program for people who could recite the Quran very well. I was in fact probably one of the best students in this school who could recite the Quran very well. In the matter of months, I memorized half of the Quran. The school told me, come and join this program, and I did. And I thought it was the right thing for me. And I told everybody about it. I told my teachers, my family, my friends. And everybody was really proud of me for what I did. Except my father. He said, he would always compliment me in more general terms. He would say, son, I know you have talent. You have a long future ahead of you. Don't rush yourself, but think about it. Things like that. He would say that I had talent, but that my choice, I needed to put more thought in it. And I never understood him. I was like, why does he say this to me? You know, that after all of these things that we have been through. In 2006, a delegation of individuals came from one of the Middle Eastern countries to my school, and they wanted to pick the brightest out of the Quran class. And they wanted to give scholarships so we could go and further our studies. They organized an event, a place like this hall, but a bit smaller. And then we would sit there, and then there was a guy who was on the stage, and he would say, you, come on the stage and do your part. It was my turn, so I went on the stage, and I recited a verse out of the Quran that I knew by heart, that I had memorized for months. I recited it one time. He said it's not good enough. And I did it for the second time. He said it wasn't good enough. And the third time, he stopped me. He told me, bend your head. And I bent my head, just like this. And he slapped me in the face so hard that I couldn't hear anything for like a week. I was so shocked. That wasn't what I was choosing for. That wasn't the reason I was going to these classes. In this moment, I remembered the words of my father when he said, Wahid, be careful. You're talented, but be careful. I stormed out of the class and I shut the door. I didn't care anymore. I just left. I didn't care about anything. I just left. I got home and I saw my father and I explained everything to him. My face was still red. And I said, what happened? He was very angry at what happened, but he couldn't do anything. He told me, that's why I told you, son, to be careful. You have a long future ahead of you. The same words, the same things, that I had talent, things like that. After weeks of being depressed and feeling very weak and humiliated, I stood up on my feet and I was like, this time I want to think about what I'm going to choose. I remembered when we were living in Iran, my father told me a lot, or told all of his children a lot about the history of the Western society in general. Like the Industrial Revolution, the First World War, Second World War. You know, everything that he knew, he would tell us through stories. And then I remembered, what if I learn more about the Western world? What if I just pick up a book and then try to read? But of course you cannot do it if you don't know English. I decided to learn English and I started immediately. I went to the class, English class, and I learned the English language very fast. And this English language sort of was a door for me to open up to the other societies and other cultures and grasp anything that came to me. And it made me so powerful in my thoughts, and it made me so happy that I just wanted to learn anything. I wasn't choosing one thing or another thing. And it gave me an opportunity to receive a scholarship to the American University of Afghanistan in 2010. In 2012, I was selected as the representative of Afghan youth to the World Youth Congress. And in 2014, I graduated with a bachelor's in political science from this university. And my father was this time very proud of me, because now I was independent. I had a job, I had everything that I needed. But unfortunately, in 2014, Afghanistan's situation was becoming bleak and dark again. And this was when the US forces decided to withdraw from Afghanistan. And that's what they did. In fact, they withdrew thousands of American troops, as well as the Europeans. European troops, they left Afghanistan as well. And it gave an opportunity to the Taliban and their sort of ideology, sort of mentalities, to come back and take over Afghanistan. In fact, in 2014, they were taking village by village in Afghanistan every week. And I was there, and I was like, this is the safety, the security that my father dreamed about 20 years before. He took me to Iran, and it was secure. We came back, and now I'm dealing with the same situation. It seems like now I have to make a choice. I called my dad and I said, Dad, I have decided to leave Afghanistan. And because I want to live somewhere secure. At the time, I was engaged to my beautiful fiance, Nushin, who is somewhere in the audience. And we fled Afghanistan, and we came to Belgium together. In fact, I even tried to persuade my father to leave as well, but he wouldn't listen. He said, you're strong enough, you're old enough, make choices for yourself, and I'm happy that you know the way to your future. In 2000, I was, myself and my fiance, we were really lucky that we got, a positive response from the Belgian government in a matter of months. In the beginning of 2015, the situation in Afghanistan was still very bad. And people were losing their lives to suicide attacks, roadside bombs, and targeted assassinations. On 7th February 2015, my father was assassinated too. And he was assassinated by the very same people whom he fled from 21 years before. For him, and there was one thing that was the most important in life, and that was family. His message to everyone he knew, his family or his friends or colleagues, and he would always tell them this: if you have a family, and if they are safe, and if you have food at your home, and if you have a place to live in, there is literally nothing else in life that matters. You are already succeeding. And don't worry about anything else. Thank you very much for your attention.